Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the stars disappear. The massive enemy fleet came out of hyperspace like a nightmare becoming real. 300 alien warships, each one bigger than any human city, filled the space. In front of them, the bridge went quiet as death. Everyone stopped breathing for a moment. The alien ships were dark and terrible looking. Their hulls were covered with weapons that could break planets apart. They moved into perfect formation, like they had done this 1,000 times before, which they probably had. The Vorthak Dominion was famous across the galaxy for destroying everything that got in their way. Communications Officer Park Ji-woo turned around from her station. Her face was white as paper. "Captain, they are sending a message to us on every channel possible." She put her hand to her earpiece and listened. "They want us to surrender right now. They are giving us exactly 60 seconds to give up, or they will destroy everything." Lee looked around at his crew. These were good people. He had served with most of them for years. Weapons Officer Kim Han-sol kept his hands steady on the controls, even though everyone could see them shaking just a little. Navigator Choi Soo-jin was already working on ways to move the ship if they needed to run. Engineer Yoon Tae-min was pushing their engines harder than they were supposed to go. The captain knew what everyone was thinking. The Vorthak had never lost a battle. They had conquered 17 different star systems in the last 10 years. Their way of fighting was always the same. They would show up with massive fleets and give people one chance to surrender. If anyone said no, they would destroy every ship, every station, every settlement, until nothing was left. Then they would take whoever survived and make them slaves. No one had ever beaten the Vorthak. No one had even hurt them badly. The alien race was bigger and stronger than humans. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of anything Earth had ever built. Their weapons could destroy moons. Their shields could stop anything humans could throw at them. But Lee and his crew were not just anyone. They were humans. Humans came from a world that tried to kill them every single day. Earth was a death planet where everything from the weather to the smallest insects wanted to murder anything that moved. Humans had learned to survive by being clever and stubborn, and by never giving up even when everything looked hopeless. They had learned something else too. They had learned to laugh when things got really bad. "Open a channel," Lee said to his communications officer. The main screen lit up and showed the bridge of the biggest enemy ship. The alien commander was huge and terrifying. It had 6 arms and eyes that glowed like fire when it talked. Its voice sounded like rocks being crushed together. "Weak species," the alien said. "You have 30 seconds left to surrender your ships and get ready to be processed. Fighting back will cause us to destroy your pathetic world completely." That was when Captain Lee did something that would be remembered across the entire galaxy for hundreds of years. He started laughing. It was not a nervous laugh or a scared laugh or even an angry laugh. It was a real, honest laugh, like someone had just told him the funniest joke he had ever heard. He threw his head back and laughed so hard that tears came to his eyes. The sound echoed around the bridge and seemed to confuse everyone, including his own crew. The alien commander blinked all of its burning eyes one after another like it could not understand what it was seeing. Its 6 arms moved in what might have been confusion or anger processing. Lee said when he finally stopped, laughing, and wiped the tears from his face. "Friend, the only thing getting processed today is your fleet through our weapons." The smile never left his face. "You picked the wrong species to mess with." The alien commander made a sound like a mountain falling down, but Lee cut off the communication before it could say anything else. He turned to look at his crew, and his smile got even bigger. "All hands battle stations." He said, "Today, we show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." The bridge came alive with activity. Everyone moved to their positions with the smooth coordination that came from years of training together. But there was something different now, something that had not been there a minute ago. There was excitement in the air. The kind of excitement that came when humans were about to do something completely crazy. Sir asked Weapons Officer Kim Han-sol, "Should we contact Earth Command and request backup?" Lee shook his head. "We are the backup," he said. "The evacuation. Ships left 3 hours ago. Every civilian in this system is already running for safety. Our job is not to win this fight, our job is to make sure those people have enough time to get away. Navigator. Choi. Sujin looked up from her station. Captain, the enemy is launching fighters. Thousands of them. Lee nodded. That means they want to finish this fast. They think we will break and run like everyone else has. Good. Let them think that. The first wave of enemy fighters came at them like angry wasps. Each one was armed with plasma cannons that could cut through human ships like paper. But the human pilots were ready for them. Fighter squadrons launched from every human ship and flew straight into the enemy formation. This is where things got interesting. Human pilots had learned to fly in the atmosphere of Earth, which meant they had learned to fly in conditions that would kill pilots from any other species. Earth had hurricanes that could flip mountains upside down, lightning storms that could power entire cities' gravity, that was so strong it crushed most aliens just by existing. The Vorthak fighters were fast and deadly, but they flew like machines. Perfect formations, perfect spacing, perfect predictable movements. Human fighters flew like living things, pilot. Oh Sung-min led the first squadron into battle. His fighter was a tiny thing compared to the enemy ships, but it moved like a bird in a storm. The enemy fired their plasma cannons, and the space around him filled with deadly energy beams that could have turned him into vapor. But humans did not fly where they were supposed to be. Sung-min rolled his fighter through a gap in the enemy fire that should not have existed. He dove under their formation, then came up, behind them firing his missiles at point-blank range. His wingman Nam Hye-jin followed him through the impossible maneuver and took out 2 more enemy fighters with her cannons. This is Ghost Leader Sung-min, called over the radio. Remember, we are not trying to be perfect. We are trying to be unpredictable. Show them how humans dance. The human fighters moved through the enemy formation like they were dancing. They broke every rule of space combat. They made turns that should have killed their pilots. They flew through their own weapons fire. They used their engine exhaust as weapons. When they got surrounded, they did not try to escape. They attacked, back on the bridge of the main ship. Captain Lee watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The enemy had expected the humans to fight like every other species in the galaxy. Careful, defensive, trying to minimize losses. Instead, the humans were fighting like humans. Captain reported Kim Han-sol from his weapons station. The enemy capital. Ships are moving closer. They are charging their main guns. Lee smiled even wider. Time to show them why we call it going nuclear. All ships prepare for close combat. Today, we teach the galaxy that humans do not just fight to win. We fight because we love it. The enemy ships opened fire with weapons that could burn entire continents. But when the energy beams reached where the human ships were supposed to be, they found empty space. The human fleet had scattered like a pack of wolves approaching from every direction at once, using the wreckage of destroyed fighters as cover. The Vorthak commander watched this happen and felt something it had never experienced before in all its years of conquest fear. The first wave of enemy fighters came at the humans like a storm of metal and fire. Each alien fighter was 3 times bigger than anything the humans had, and their weapons could destroy a human ship with 1 shot. The Vorthak pilots flew in perfect formation, just like they had been taught in their military academies. Perfect spacing, perfect timing, perfect, predictable, death pilot. Oh Sung-min watched them coming and grinned inside his helmet. He had grown up flying crop dusters through tornado seasons on Earth. He had learned to fly by dodging lightning bolts and hurricane winds. The alien fighters looked scary, but they flew like they were following a computer program. This is Ghost Leader, he called to his squadron. Remember what we learned in training. These aliens have never seen Earth weather. They have never had to fly through a thunderstorm or dodge a twister. They think flying is about being perfect. We know flying is about staying alive. The enemy opened fire and space lit up with deadly plasma beams. Each beam could cut through steel like butter. But the human pilots were not where the aliens expected them to be. Sung-min rolled his fighter sideways and dove down, then came up behind the enemy formation. His wingman, Park Min-ho, followed the same crazy path, and they both fired their missiles at the same time. 2 alien fighters exploded in balls of fire and metal. The Vorthak squadron leader could not understand what had happened. His targeting computers had predicted where the human ships would be, but they had not been there. Instead, they had appeared somewhere impossible and destroyed two of his best pilots. Human fighter Nam Hye-jin was having the time of her life. She had been flying since she was 12 years old, on the mining colonies where one mistake meant falling into a gas giant. Her fighter spun through the alien formation like a dancer. Her movements looked random, but every turn, every dive, every roll was designed to confuse the enemy targeting systems. Bum. On you ugly monsters, she laughed as plasma beams missed her by inches. Try to keep up. She fired her cannons at an enemy fighter and watched it spin out of control. Then she used her thruster exhaust to blind another alien pilot, and her wingman finished him off with a missile. The human fighters were working together like a flock of birds. Each pilot knew where the others were without even looking. The alien pilots had trained for years to fly in formation, but they had never learned to fly as individuals. When the humans scattered their formation, the aliens did not know what to do. They had rules for everything, but the humans were breaking all the rules. Fighter pilot Choi Dong-wook found himself surrounded by 3 enemy ships. Their plasma cannons were charging up to turn him into vapor. Most pilots would have tried to run or called for help. Dong-wook did something different. He flew straight at the biggest enemy ship. The alien pilot panicked and fired too early. The plasma beam missed and hit one of his own wingmen. Dong-wook flew right through the explosion and came out the other side with his cannons blazing. The third alien fighter tried to follow him but crashed into the wreckage of his dead wingmate. 3 enemies down, and Dong-wook did not even have a scratch on his ship back on the command ship. Captain Lee watched the fighter battle with growing excitement. The tactical display showed human fighters dancing through the enemy formation like they were putting on a show. Each human pilot was outnumbered 3-1, but they were winning. Sir, reported Communications Officer Park Ji-woo. We are getting reports from all squadrons. Enemy fighters are retreating to regroup. Lee nodded. The aliens were learning that humans did not fight like anyone else in the galaxy. But the lesson was just beginning. Captain called Weapons Officer Kim Han-sol. The enemy capital ships are moving to attack range. They are powering up their main weapons. Lee smiled. Time for the next part of the lesson: all ships scatter formation. Alpha. Let them see what happens when they try to hit a target that refuses to stay still. The human fleet broke apart like a school of fish when a shark appeared. Each ship went in a different direction, but they all knew where they were going. The enemy had bigger guns and stronger shields, but they were slow and predictable. The Vorthak capital ships opened fire with weapons that could destroy planets. Their massive energy beams lanced across space, looking for human targets. But the human ships were not flying in straight lines. They were not following any formation. The aliens had ever seen. Destroyer Captain Jang Kyung-ho took his ship so close to an enemy battleship that he could see the alien weapons trying to turn to track him. The big guns could not move fast enough. His ship was like a mosquito buzzing around a giant. All weapons fire, he ordered. His crew launched every missile they had at point-blank range. The enemy shields flared and sparked but held. The alien ship was too strong to kill with one attack, but Kyung-ho was not trying to destroy the ship. He was trying to make it angry. The alien battleship turned to chase his tiny destroyer, its massive bulk moving slowly through space. All of its weapons focused on the one small human ship that dared to attack it. That was exactly what Kyung-ho wanted. While the enemy ship was distracted, 2 other human destroyers came at it from behind. Captain Song Mi-ra and Captain Bae Jin-wook had been waiting for this moment. Their ships fired everything they had at the alien engines. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The alien battleship lost power and began to drift. Its weapons went silent. Its shields flickered and died. Now, called Lee over the fleet communication, all ships concentrate fire on the damaged target. 20 human ships turned their weapons on the crippled alien battleship. The enemy tried to return fire, but their weapons were offline. Human missiles and energy beams tore into the alien hull. Explosions rippled across its surface. The first Vorthak capital ship died in a ball of fire and twisted metal on the enemy flagship. The Vorthak commander stared at his tactical display in shock. He had just watched a ship that could destroy continents get taken apart by vessels that were barely larger than fighters. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his tactical officer. The tactical officer was studying the human attack patterns. Its multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "Sir, they are not following any known combat doctrine. They attack from impossible angles. They coordinate without apparent communication. They sacrifice tactical advantage for unpredictability." The commander made a sound like grinding stone. "These creatures fight like animals, like pack hunters." "Yes, sir, exactly like pack hunters." The tactical officer paused. "Our battle computers cannot predict their movements because they do not follow logical patterns. On the human side, things were going better than anyone had dared hope." Fighter pilot Lee Soo-jin had just destroyed her 5th enemy fighter and was looking for more targets. Her squadron had taken down an entire alien wing without losing a single pilot. "This is Eagle 7, she called over the radio enemy. "Fighters are pulling back, they look scared." "They should be scared," replied squadron leader Kim Tae-ho. "We just showed them that humans do not fight to survive. We fight to win." Captain Lee heard the report and felt pride swell in his chest. His people were doing the impossible. They were taking apart an enemy fleet that had conquered half the galaxy. But the real test was just beginning. The enemy was learning that brute force would not work against humans. Now they would try something different. "Sir," reported Navigator Choi Soo-jin, "enemy fleet is changing formation. They are clustering their capital ships together." Lee studied the tactical display. The aliens were forming a defensive circle with their strongest ships on the outside. It was a good strategy against a conventional enemy. Too bad humans were not conventional. "All ships," he called over the fleet. "Communication time for phase 2 of our lesson plan. Show them what happens when you corner a pack of wolves." The human fleet began to move in a pattern that looked like chaos, but was actually the result of thousands of years of human evolution. Humans had learned to hunt in packs on the plains of Africa. They had learned to work together to bring down prey much larger and stronger than themselves. The aliens were about to learn why humans were the most successful predators on Earth, and space was just another hunting ground. The alien capital ships formed a defensive circle like ancient Earth warriors making a shield wall. Their massive hulls bristled with weapons, and their shields glowed with deadly energy. The formation looked impenetrable, like a fortress floating
in space. The Vorthak commander felt confident that no force in the galaxy could break through such defenses. He was about to learn that humans were not like any other force in the galaxy. Admiral Song Mi-ra commanded the human battle group from her
flagship, the Soul's Pride. She had earned her rank fighting pirates in the outer colonies where human forces always faced enemies with better ships and more firepower. She had learned that the key to winning was not having the biggest guns, it was knowing exactly where to point the guns. "You had analysis complete," reported Science Officer Bae Jin-wook from his station. "The enemy ships have blind spots in their rear sections where their own weapons block their sensors. Their armor is strongest at the front but has weak points where the weapon systems connect to the main hull." Mi-ra smiled grimly. "Just like hunting a big predator back home. You do not attack it head on. You wait for it to make a mistake. Then you go for the throat." She opened communication to all human ships. "All vessels implement Wolfpack protocol. We are going hunting." The human fleet split into small groups, each one targeting a different enemy capital ship. They moved with coordination that seemed impossible but was actually the result of centuries of humans learning to work together against terrible odds. Each group knew what the others were doing without needing constant communication. Destroyer Captain Jang Kyung-ho led the first attack against the largest alien battleship. His ship was tiny compared to the enemy vessel, but he had something the aliens did not understand. He had experience fighting things much bigger than himself. "Take us in close." He ordered his crew closer than they think we dare to. Go. The human destroyer accelerated toward the alien ship, dodging the massive energy beams that tried to swat it from space. The enemy weapons were designed to fight other capital ships. They could not track something as small and fast as a human destroyer. The alien gunners tried to hit the tiny ship, but it was like trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. Kyung-ho brought his destroyer so close to the enemy hull that the alien point defense weapons could not angle down far enough to hit. Then now he called to his weapons officer. All missiles maximum spread. The human destroyer launched every missile it carried directly into the alien ship's weapon arrays at point-blank range. The explosions tore massive holes in the enemy hull and knocked out half their main guns. But Kyung-ho was not done yet. Ramming speed, he ordered, and his crew cheered as they drove their ship directly into the biggest hole they had made. The destroyer punched through the alien armor like a bullet through paper. Before the enemy could react, human boarding pods launched from the other destroyers carrying assault teams directly into the breach squad. Leader Ryu Yun-soo led the first boarding party into the alien ship. She had trained for this moment. Her entire military career, fighting inside enemy vessels where everything was designed to kill humans and the air itself might be poison. The Vorthak crew had expected many things, but not humans fighting inside their own ship. The aliens were twice as tall as humans and had 6 arms each, but they had evolved on a world where size and strength mattered. Most humans had evolved on a world where being clever mattered more than being big. The alien soldiers tried to corner the human boarding parties, but the humans scattered through maintenance shafts and air ducts that the larger aliens could not follow. Then they would appear behind the enemy with knives and explosives. Move, 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 Yun-soo called to her team as they crawled through the alien ship's ventilation system. We need to reach the reactor core before they conceal the blast doors. Her team moved through the alien ship like a virus spreading through a body. They sabotaged life support systems. They planted explosives on structural supports. They generally caused the kind of chaos that only humans seemed capable of creating. The Vorthak soldiers were bigger and stronger, but they fought like individuals. Each alien warrior expected to win through personal combat prowess. The humans fought like a pack. Each soldier covered the others and they moved with deadly coordination. When 3 alien warriors cornered human soldier Park Sung-ho in a corridor, he did not try to fight them. He threw a smoke grenade and disappeared. Into a side passage, his teammates were waiting in ambush and cut down the confused aliens with rapid fire. This is boarding team Alpha. Yun-soo reported as her squad reached the enemy reactor core. Package delivered 30 seconds to fireworks. The Aiba explosion that followed lit up space like a new Star 1. Less alien capital ship threatened human space. But the other human boarding teams were just getting started on the second enemy ship. Marine Captain Kim Do-young led his assault team through the alien corridors like they owned the place. The aliens had built their ships for creatures their own size. Everything was too big for humans, which meant humans could go places the aliens never expected. The enemy tried to use their advanced technology against the boarding parties. They filled corridors with poison gas, but humans had portable life support. They used sonic weapons that could shatter alien eardrums, but humans wore protection. They even tried to depressurize sections of the ship, but humans had vacuum suits. Every defensive measure the aliens used, the humans had already thought of and prepared for. Sir called Corporal Lee Min-jung as they reached the alien command center. I can access their computer systems. Their security is designed to keep out other Vorthak, not humans. Do it, Kim ordered. Within minutes, they had downloaded the alien battle plans, ship specifications, and fleet positions. The information was already being transmitted to the human fleet. The third alien ship tried a different approach. When the human boarding pods attached to their hull, they flooded the entire section with their strongest warriors. But the humans did not try to fight their way through. Instead, they used cutting torches to make their own entrances in unexpected places. The aliens found themselves fighting human soldiers who appeared from walls, floors, and ceilings. The humans used the alien ship's own structure against them, turning corridors into kill zones and using the ship's artificial gravity to their advantage. When alien commander Zekthor tried to rally his troops for a counterattack, he found that the humans had taken control of the ship's internal communication system. Instead of battle orders, his soldiers heard human voices taunting them in broken alien language. "Hey, ugly 6 arms," one human voice called over the intercom. "Your ship belongs to us now. Maybe you should have stayed home." The psychological warfare was just as effective as the physical combat. The alien crew began to panic as they realized that these tiny creatures were not just fighting them, they were humiliating them. The fourth alien ship lasted exactly 12 minutes after the humans boarded it. The fifth ship tried to self-destruct, rather than face capture. But the human boarding team reached the reactor controls first and shut down the destruction sequence. By the time the first hour of battle was over, the humans had captured or destroyed 8 alien capital ships. The remaining enemy vessels were clustering together in an even tighter formation. On the human flagship, Admiral Mira watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The enemy was learning what every predator on Earth had eventually discovered. Humans were not prey. They were the apex predators, Captain, she called to her communications officer. Open a channel to the enemy fleet commander. The alien commander appeared on screen, his burning eyes now showing something that looked like fear. You fight without honor, the alien said. Your warriors use trickery and deception. Mira smiled. Honor is a luxury for those who can afford to lose. We fight to protect our families, our homes, our future. If that means being sneaky and underhanded, then we will be the sneakiest, most underhanded species in the galaxy. The alien commander made a sound like breaking stone, and Commander Mira continued, We are just getting started. The Vorthak fleet commander stared at his tactical display in growing horror. His invincible armada was falling apart piece by piece. These humans fought like nothing in his long experience of conquest. They were outnumbered 10-1 and outgunned 100-1, yet they kept coming. Every time his forces destroyed a human ship, 2 more would appear from directions that should have been impossible. Every time they managed to corner a group of human fighters, the pilots would do something that defied the laws of physics and escape status report. He demanded, his 6 arms trembling with rage. We have lost 63 capital ships and over 400 fighters, his tactical officer reported with fear in his voice. The humans have lost 12 destroyers and 48 fighters. Sir, this should not be possible. Our battle computers predicted total victory within the first 15 minutes. The commander's burning eyes grew brighter. These creatures must have some advanced technology. We do not understand. Scan for cloaking devices, energy shields, exotic weapons. Negative, sir, the officer replied. Their technology is actually worse than ours in most ways. Their ships are slower, their weapons weaker, their armor thinner. But they fight. Like the officer paused, searching for words in a language that had no concept for what they were witnessing. They fight like demons. The commander finished, on the human side. Commander Seo Young-min was coordinating the battle from his command ship, Incheon's Revenge. He could barely believe how well things were going. The original plan had been simple. Hold off the aliens long enough for the civilian evacuation ships to reach safety. Now it looked like they might actually destroy the entire enemy fleet, sir, reported communications officer Lee Yoo-jin. Captain Park from the Daegu's Fury has successfully infiltrated the enemy flagship. They have accessed the alien battle network and are downloading their entire strategic database. Excellent, Young-min replied. What about the evacuation ships? All civilian vessels have reached minimum safe distance. The refugee population is secure. That had been the real objective from the beginning. The human fleet was not trying to win a glorious victory. They were buying time for millions of innocent people to escape. But as the battle continued, it became clear they might be able to achieve both goals. Fighter pilot Kwon Da-eun was on her 4th ship of the day, having used the previous 3 as guided missiles against enemy vessels. She had ejected from each one at the last second and been picked up by rescue shuttles. Control, this is Lucky 7, she called from her new fighter. I am seeing something strange with the enemy formation. They are pulling their ships closer together. Young-min studied the tactical display and his smile grew wider. They are not regrouping. They are clustering together for protection, like prey animals when they sense predators nearby. He opened a fleet-wide. Channel all ships. The enemy is showing fear. Time to press our advantage. Begin final assault pattern. Omega. The remaining human ships formed up for what would later be called the most insane attack in military history. They were going to charge directly into the center of the enemy formation and see who had stronger nerves. Captain Lee Dae-ho led the charge in his flagship Taegukgi. His ship had taken damage from the earlier fighting, but his crew was ready for one final push. All weapons prepare. For point-blank engagement, he called to his crew. Today we finish this. The human fleet accelerated toward the alien formation at maximum speed. The enemy opened fire with everything they had. Space filled with enough energy to boil oceans, but the human ships kept coming. They flew through the deadly barrage like they were dancing with death itself. Some ships took hits that should have destroyed them but kept fighting. Some pilots flew ships that were falling apart around them but never stopped attacking. The psychological effect on the alien crews was devastating. They had never faced an enemy that refused to be intimidated by superior firepower. They had conquered 17 star systems by making their enemies so afraid that they surrendered without fighting. But humans had learned long ago that the only way to deal with bullies was to hit them back twice as hard. Fighter pilot Nam Hye-jin found herself in the middle of the enemy formation, surrounded by alien capital ships that were trying to swat her like an insect. She did not try to escape. Instead, she flew directly at the largest enemy ship. "Come on, you cowards." She laughed as plasma beams missed her by inches. "Is that the best you can do?" She fired her last 2 missiles at the alien bridge, then used her fighter's self-destruct to take out the ship's main sensor array. The explosion lit up the enemy formation and showed every human pilot exactly where to aim. The domino effect was beautiful to watch. One by one, the alien ships began to malfunction as their coordination broke down. Without their sensors, they could not tell friend from foe. Without communication, they could not coordinate their attacks. The human ships tore through the confused enemy formation, like wolves through a flock of sheep. Every human pilot and ship captain knew exactly what their teammates were doing without needing orders. They had trained together, fought together, and now they were winning together. But the most important moment came when the alien fleet commander made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He ordered his fleet to retreat. It was not a tactical withdrawal or a strategic repositioning. It was pure animal panic. The Vorthak, who had conquered half the galaxy, had met something they could not understand or defeat, a species that actually enjoyed fighting. Captain Lee watched the enemy ships begin to power up their hyperspace drives with mixed feelings. Part of him was triumphant, but part of him was almost disappointed. The fight had been the most exciting thing he had ever experienced. "Communications, open a channel to the enemy flagship," he ordered. The alien commander appeared on screen again. His burning eyes now held something that looked suspiciously like terror. "What do you want, human?" the creature asked. Lee's smile was gentle, almost friendly. "Just wanted to make sure you understand what happened here today. You came to our system expecting to find another species of victims. Instead, you found humans. We are not the strongest race in the galaxy or the smartest or the most technologically advanced, but we are the species that survived a death world by learning to find joy in the struggle." The alien commander said nothing, but his hands were shaking. "When you return to your dominion," Lee continued, "when you report to your superiors about what happened here, make sure you tell them this. You did not lose because we had better weapons or superior numbers. You lost because we are human, and humans have something you will never understand." "What is that?" The alien whispered, "We fight not because we have to, but because we choose to." Lee replied, "We fight not for conquest or glory, but to protect the people we love. And when someone threatens our family, we do not just resist. We become something you never want to face again." The alien fleet jumped to hyperspace without another word, leaving behind the wreckage of their mighty armada and carrying with them a story that would spread across the galaxy. The story of the day humans laughed at the impossible and made it possible. The story of the day the galaxy learned that Earth's children were not victims. They were survivors, and survivors never give up. The Vorthak fleet jumped to hyperspace in complete disorder. Their perfect formation was broken. Their mighty ships were scattered across space like leaves in a storm. What had started as a routine conquest had become their worst nightmare. Captain Lee Daeho stood on his damaged bridge and watched the enemy disappear into the void. The silence that followed was strange after hours of combat. The only sounds were the hum of life support and the quiet conversations of his crew. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park Ji-woo, "we are receiving messages from across the system. Every human ship is reporting in. Most have damage, but casualties are much lower than expected." Lee nodded. "How many ships did we lose?" 14 destroyers. 3 cruisers, and 87 fighters, Park replied. But sir, we destroyed or captured over 90 enemy vessels, including 12 of their capital ships. The captain looked around at his crew. These people had just accomplished the impossible. They had faced the most feared military force in the galaxy and sent them running. But none of them looked like they were celebrating. They looked like they were already thinking about the next battle. That was very human. Lee thought, humans never stayed satisfied with victory. They always wanted to know what came next. Medical officer Dr. Han So-young entered the bridge carrying her medical scanner. She had been treating wounded across the fleet for the past hour. Her uniform was stained with blood, but her eyes were bright with pride. Captain, she said, I have been treating injuries from every ship in the fleet. Do you know what I found? Lee raised an eyebrow. What, doctor? Not one person complained about their wounds. Not one person asked to be sent home. Everyone wants to know when we fight again. She paused. The alien commander was right about one thing. We do fight differently than other species, but not for the reasons he thinks. What do you mean? Lee asked. Dr. Han gestured toward the view screen where human ships were already forming up for patrol duty. We did not fight those aliens because we wanted to conquer them, or because we hated them. We fought them because they threatened our families, our friends, our home, and humans will do anything, face any enemy, overcome any odds when the people we love are in danger. She was right. Lee realized the battle had not been about military strategy or territorial disputes. It had been about protection, about standing between the darkness and the light. But there was something else the aliens had not understood about humans, something that would keep them awake at night for years to come. We did not just survive that battle, Lee said quietly. We enjoyed it. The crew nodded in agreement. They had been terrified, yes, but they had also felt more alive during those few hours than they had in years. There was something about facing impossible odds that brought out the best in humans. Engineer Yoon Tae-min looked up from his damage reports. Captain, the alien ships we captured are intact. We could learn a lot from their technology. Lee shook his head. Strip them for useful materials, then destroy them. We do not need their technology. We have something better. What is that? Sir Yoon asked. We have each other, Lee replied. We have the knowledge that when things get really bad, humans stick together. We have the certainty that no matter how dark the galaxy gets, we will find a way to light it up again. Over the next few hours, rescue ships arrived from Earth, command to help with repairs and recovery. The official reports would say that the human fleet had achieved a decisive victory against overwhelming odds. But the real story was already spreading across the galaxy. Trader ships carried the news to distant systems. Diplomatic vessels brought word to alien governments. Refugees from Vorthak territory whispered the tale in spaceport bars. The story grew with each telling. Sometimes the humans had faced 1,000 ships. Sometimes they had been outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. Sometimes Captain Lee had laughed for 10 minutes straight before giving his famous reply. But the core of the story always remained the same. The day the humans laughed at death and death blinked first. The day the galaxy learned that Earth's children were not just survivors, but something far more dangerous. They were humans who had learned to find joy in the struggle. Within 6 months, the Vorthak Dominion began pulling back from their conquered territories. Other, aggressive species started avoiding systems with human colonies. Suddenly everyone wanted to know more about these strange creatures who treated warfare like a game. But humans did not become arrogant with their victory. They knew that somewhere, in the dark between the stars, other enemies were watching and planning. They knew that the next fight might be harder than the last. They also knew they would be ready, on Earth itself. The story of the Battle of Sol became legend. Children grew up, hearing about Captain Lee and his laugh pilots trained by studying the tactics of Ghost Squadron Marines, practiced the boarding techniques that had captured alien capital ships. But the most important lesson was simpler than any military strategy. When someone threatens your family, you do not negotiate, you do not compromise, you do not surrender. You laugh in their face and show them what humans do to bullies. The alien commander who had fled from Sol eventually reported to his superiors in the Vorthak High Command. His report was classified as the ravings of a broken mind. No rational being could believe that a species would choose to fight rather than surrender when facing certain death. But deep in the alien databases, a new entry appeared. In the files marked species to avoid humans, it read, "Do not engage under any circumstances, extremely dangerous when cornered, capable of finding humor in hopeless situations. Warning. Primary tactic appears to be making the impossible look easy. Second, warning. They seem to enjoy combat more than is psychologically healthy. Final warning. When a human laughs during a battle, it means they have already won." The minute Captain Lee Dae-ho laughed at the Vorthak ultimatum had indeed changed everything. It was the minute the galaxy learned that humanity had not just survived the journey from their death world to the stars. They had brought their death world with them, and they were more than happy to share it with anyone foolish enough to threaten their friends. The human laugh had become the most feared sound in the galaxy, and humans were just getting started.